I walked through the front door that September evening with my heart racing, ready to celebrate turning 20 years old with my family. Mom met me in the entryway, and the moment I saw her red-rimmed eyes, I knew something was wrong. She twisted her hands together and told me they had to cancel my birthday dinner because Tyler, my 17-year-old brother, felt invisible whenever I got attention. Dad appeared behind her, nodding solemnly, explaining that we needed to be fair and make Tyler feel equally important. My cake sat untouched on the kitchen counter. My wrapped gifts had already been returned to the stores. I stood there in that hallway, my keys still in my hand, trying to process what my mother had just said. The smell of chocolate cake drifted from the kitchen, mocking me. I could see it through the doorway, a beautiful 2-layer cake with white frosting and blue lettering that probably said Happy Birthday Landon, though from where I stood, I could only make out the H and the B. My father crossed his arms, his expression stern but somehow also pleading. He had that look he always got when he was about to defend Tyler. That mixture of determination and desperation that made my stomach turn. "Landon, you have to understand," Dad said, his voice taking on that patient tone he used when he thought he was being reasonable. "Tyler came to us this afternoon, in tears. He said watching you get celebrated makes him feel like he doesn't matter, like we love you more than him." "It's my 20th birthday," I said quietly. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, flat and hollow. "Tyler's birthday was 3 months ago. We threw him a huge party. We rented that pavilion at the park. We invited 30 people. Mom reached out to touch my arm, but I stepped back. Her hand dropped to her side. "That's different," she said softly. "Tyler needs more reassurance. He's more sensitive than you are. You've always been so independent, so self-sufficient. But Tyler needs to feel special." I looked past them into the living room. Tyler sat on the couch, his eyes fixed on his phone, but I could see the slight smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. He wasn't crying now. I too? He didn't look upset at all. He looked satisfied. Something inside me snapped. I turned around and walked straight back out the front door. Behind me, I heard my mother gasp. "Landon, where are you going?" Dad called out. I didn't answer. I got in my car, a beat-up Honda Civic that I'd bought myself with money from my part-time job, and I drove straight to my best friend Jake's apartment on the other side of town. My hands shook on the steering wheel the entire way. Jake opened his door in sweatpants and a faded college t-shirt, holding a gaming controller. His eyes widened when he saw my face. "What happened?" he asked. I told him everything while standing in his doorway. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he stepped aside and gestured me in. "My roommate just moved out last week," Jake said. "The room's empty. It's yours if you want it." I didn't hesitate. I want it. That night, I drove back to my parents' house at 11 o'clock. The lights were off except for the porch light. I used my key to get in quietly and went straight to my bedroom. I packed everything I owned into 4 large duffel bags and 6 cardboard boxes. My clothes, my books, my laptop, my bedding, the few possessions that actually mattered to me. It took me 2 hours and 3 trips to the car. On my final trip down the stairs, Tyler's bedroom door opened. He stood there in the doorway, backlit by his bedroom light, watching me carry the last box. He didn't say a word. He just watched me with that same slight smirk, his arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe like he was enjoying a show. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked up at him. Our eyes met. I wanted to say something, to tell him exactly what I thought of him, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I just turned and walked out. I left my key on the kitchen counter next to the uneaten cake. The next morning, my phone started buzzing at 7 o'clock. Mom. Dad. Mom again. Dad again. 17 missed calls before I even got out of bed. I finally answered on the 18th call. "Landon, you need to come home right now," Mom said, her voice sharp with panic. "You can't just leave like this. You're tearing this family apart." "I'm not tearing anything apart," I said. I was sitting on the edge of the bed in my new room, staring at the bare walls. "You chose Tyler over me on my birthday. You made your choice." "We didn't choose anyone over anyone," Dad said. Apparently, I was on speakerphone. We were trying to be fair. Tyler has feelings too. So do I said. But apparently mine don't matter. Don't be dramatic, Mom said. This is exactly what Tyler was talking about. You always make everything about you. I hung up. They called 14 more times that day. I didn't answer. They left voicemails. I didn't listen to them. They sent text messages. I didn't read them. By the end of the day, I'd blocked both their numbers. Jake helped me set up my room. He didn't ask questions, didn't offer advice I didn't want. He just helped me unpack and ordered pizza for dinner. We ate it while watching a basketball game, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning, I went to work at the marketing firm where I'd been interning part-time while finishing my degree at the local community college. I was studying business and marketing, taking night classes so I could work during the day. The job didn't pay much, but I liked it. My boss, Mr. Patterson, was a stocky man in his 50s with graying hair and a quick laugh. He ran a small but successful firm that specialized in social media marketing for local businesses. I was putting together a presentation on a new client's Instagram strategy when Mr. Patterson knocked on my cubicle wall. "Landon, got a minute?" he asked. I followed him into his office. He gestured for me to sit down. "I've been impressed with your work these past 6 months," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You've got good instincts, you're reliable, and clients like you. How would you feel about coming on full-time? Junior marketing associate. Real salary, benefits, the whole package." I stared at him. "Full-time? I know you're still in school, but you could take night classes, finish your degree part-time. This is a real opportunity, Landon. What do you say?" I thought about my empty childhood bedroom, the uneaten cake, Tyler's smirk in the doorway. I thought about my parents' phone calls, their inability to see what they'd done. "Yes," I said. "Absolutely yes." Mr. Patterson grinned and shook my hand. "Welcome to the team." For 2 weeks, everything was perfect. I worked my new full-time job, splitting rent with Jake, building my new independent life. I felt free for the first time in years. No more walking on eggshells around Tyler. No more watching my parents bend over backward to accommodate his every mood. No more being told my feelings didn't matter. Then the receptionist pulled me aside one morning. Her name was Carol, a friendly woman in her 40s who always had candy on her desk. She looked uncomfortable as she gestured me over. "Landon, I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "Someone called here yesterday asking about you. Said he was a family member, very concerned. He told me you'd been stealing from your family, and that we should be careful trusting you with money or client information." My blood went cold. "What did you tell him?" "I told him I'd pass along his concerns," Carol said. "I mentioned it to Mr. Patterson. He wants to talk to you." I walked into Mr. Patterson's office feeling like I was going to be sick. He looked up from his computer and gestured for me to close the door. "Carol told me about the call," he said. His voice was neutral, giving nothing away. "Want to tell me what's going on?" I explained everything. The canceled birthday, moving out, Tyler's history of manipulation, the toxic family dynamic. My voice shook as I talked, and I hated how vulnerable I sounded, how much I was revealing to my boss during my 3rd week of full-time employment. Mr. Patterson listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I believe you," he finally said. "But Landon, you need to understand something. I can't have family drama bleeding into the workplace. This is a small company. We depend on our reputation. If your family is going to keep calling here making accusations, it's going to be a problem." "I understand," I said. "I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." "See that it doesn't," he said, and his tone was kind but firm. "You're good at what you do, but I can't protect you if this becomes a pattern." I left his office feeling humiliated and angry. Tyler had crossed a new line. He wasn't just enjoying being the favorite anymore. He was actively trying to destroy the life I was building. That night, I blocked Tyler's number and blocked him on every social media platform I could think of. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 months passed. Fall turned to winter, and I threw myself into my work with an intensity that surprised even me. Every morning, I arrived at the office 30 minutes early. Every evening, I stayed late, perfecting presentations, researching new marketing strategies, studying the analytics of every campaign we ran, Mr. Patterson noticed. He started giving me more responsibility, letting me lead client meetings, trusting me with bigger accounts. I was good at this work. Really good. I had a knack for understanding what clients needed before they knew themselves, for crafting social media campaigns that felt authentic rather than corporate. In early December, I created a campaign for a local coffee shop that went viral. It was a simple concept, really. Just a series of behind-the-scenes videos showing the owner, a woman named Sandra, talking about why she'd opened the shop, the story behind each of her specialty drinks, the local artists whose work she featured on her walls. The videos were genuine, warm, human. They got shared thousands of times. Sandra's business tripled in 2 weeks. Mr. Patterson called me into his office the day after Christmas. "That coffee shop campaign was outstanding work," he said. He was smiling, really smiling. "I'm promoting you to marketing coordinator. It comes with a significant raise and your own office. Congratulations, Landon. You've earned it." I moved into my new office the next week. It was small, barely bigger than my bedroom at Jake's apartment. But it had a door and a window and a nameplate that said Landon Garrett, Marketing Coordinator. I took a photo of it and posted it on my personal Instagram account with the caption, "Hard work pays off." I'd forgotten that while I'd blocked Tyler on my professional accounts, I hadn't blocked him on my personal Instagram. It had been private before, and I hadn't posted anything in months, so I didn't think about it. But when I made it public to share my promotion, Tyler saw it. Within an hour, he'd commented on the post. The comment said, "Guess running away from family pays off. Hope you're proud of yourself." I deleted the comment and blocked him immediately. But the damage was already done. My joy in the moment was tainted, replaced by the familiar knot of anxiety in my stomach. The promotion came with enough of a raise that I could afford my own apartment. Jake had been great, but I was ready for my own space. I found a small studio apartment about 15 minutes from work. A 5th-floor walk-up with creaky floorboards and a radiator that clanged like church bells, but it was mine. I also reconnected with my girlfriend, Emma. We'd dated for 8 months before breaking up the previous spring. She'd told me then that my family situation was too much drama, that she couldn't handle the constant stress of watching me try to please people who would never be satisfied. At the time, I'd been hurt and angry. Now, I understood. She'd seen what I hadn't been ready to see. We ran into each other at a coffee shop in January. She looked exactly the same, with her long brown hair, and that careful smile that never quite reached her eyes until she really meant it. We talked for 2 hours, standing in the cold outside the shop because neither of us wanted to go home yet. "I saw your promotion post," she said. "I'm really proud of you. You look happy." "I am happy," I said, and realized it was true. I'm finally building something that's mine. We started dating again slowly, carefully. Coffee dates, lunch meetings, long walks in the park. She told me she'd seen the change in me, how I stood straighter now, spoke with more confidence. I told her about the apartment, the promotion, the freedom of living without my family's constant judgment. For a few weeks, life was almost perfect. Then Jake called me at work one Tuesday afternoon. His voice was frantic. "Landon, you need to get to Regional Hospital right now," he said. "Someone just called me saying your mom had a heart attack. She's asking for you." My heart stopped. I grabbed my keys and ran out of the office, barely stopping to tell Mr. Patterson where I was going. I drove to the hospital 20 minutes across town, breaking every speed limit, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. I burst through the emergency room doors and ran to the front desk. "My mother," I gasped at the nurse. "Diane Garrett." She was brought in with a heart attack. The nurse typed on her computer, frowning. "I don't see anyone by that name in our system." "Check again," I said. "Please." Someone called and said she was here. She checked. Then she checked the other area hospitals. Nothing. I stood there in that waiting room, trying to understand what was happening, when I heard a familiar laugh from down the hallway. I turned and saw my mother walking out of the cafeteria, carrying a sandwich and a cup of coffee, talking animatedly with Tyler. She was perfectly fine. No heart attack. No emergency. She wasn't even a patient. They saw me at the same moment I saw them. Mom's eyes went wide. Tyler's face lit up with that same smirk I'd seen on my birthday night. "Landon," Mom said, hurrying over. "What are you doing here?" "Someone called Jake and said you had a heart attack," I said. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from somewhere outside my body. "They said you were asking for me." "I don't know who would have done that," Mom said, but her eyes flickered to Tyler for just a second, just long enough. "We're here for Tyler's physical," she continued quickly. "For his college applications. That's all. But since you're here, we should talk. We've missed you so much. Haven't we, honey?" She looked at Dad, who'd appeared from the cafeteria behind her. He nodded, his expression carefully neutral. "It's been months, Landon," Dad said. "This has gone on long enough. You need to come home and make things right with Tyler." I looked at Tyler. He wasn't even trying to hide his satisfaction anymore. He stood there with his arms crossed, watching me like I was a bug under glass, waiting to see what I'd do. "Why?" I asked Tyler directly. "Why would you do this?" "Do what?" Tyler said, his voice dripping with false innocence. "I didn't do anything. I don't know who called your friend. Maybe someone was genuinely concerned about our family falling apart." "Landon, don't blame your brother," Mom said sharply. "This is exactly what we're talking about. You always assume the worst about Tyler. You never give him the benefit of the doubt." "Come home," Dad said. "We'll have dinner. We'll talk this through like adults. We can fix this family." "The family isn't broken because of me," I said quietly. "It's broken because you refuse to see who Tyler really is." I turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom calling my name, but I didn't stop. I got in my car and drove back to work, my hands shaking so badly I had to pull over twice. The worst part wasn't the fake emergency. It wasn't even my parents ambushing me at the hospital. The worst part was knowing that Tyler had planned the whole thing, had orchestrated it perfectly, and had gotten away with it completely. 1 week later, Mr. Patterson called me into his office again. His expression was grave. "Landon, I need you to listen very carefully," he said. "I received an email this morning with an audio file attached. The email said it was from a concerned family member. The audio file is of you apparently threatening your brother, screaming at him, using violent language. Several of your coworkers received the same email." He turned his computer screen toward me and pressed play. My own voice filled the office, distorted and edited but recognizable. Fragments of sentences I'd said at different times, cut together to sound like a rant. Words like "I'll make you pay," and "you'll regret this," and "I could kill you," strung together with clicks and uneven audio levels that proved it had been manipulated. "I never said those things," I said immediately. "Not like that. This has been edited. It's taken out of context." "I know," Mr. Patterson said. He stopped the audio. "The editing is obvious if you know what to listen for. But Landon, this is the second time your family situation has impacted the workplace. Other staff are concerned. They're asking questions." I pulled out my phone and showed him my call logs, my text message history, the timeline of when I'd been at the hospital versus when those words might have been said. "My brother recorded me at the hospital," I explained. "When I confronted him about faking the emergency, he edited it to make me sound threatening. This is harassment." Mr. Patterson studied the evidence I'd provided. He nodded slowly. "I believe you," he said. "But I have to be honest with you. This pattern is concerning. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what's being done to you. This is the kind of situation that could spiral. I need to know it won't happen again." "It won't," I said, though I had no idea if that was true. "I'm putting you on informal probation," he said. "Not because you've done anything wrong, but because I need to protect the company. One more incident like this, and I'll have no choice but to let you go. I'm sorry, Landon. I really am. But I have to think about the business." I left his office feeling sick. I changed all my privacy settings on every platform I could think of. I made my social media completely private, visible only to close friends I'd known for years. I blocked every family member I could identify online. But in doing so, I'd blinded myself. I couldn't see what Tyler was planning next, because I couldn't monitor his online activity. I'd cut off my only window into his schemes. I didn't realize my mistake until it was too late. 6 months after moving out, I'd rebuilt my life into something I could be proud of. My job had become more than just a paycheck. It was proof that I could succeed on my own terms, without my family's approval or support. The informal probation Mr. Patterson had placed me on had ended after 3 months of quiet, drama-free work. He'd called me into his office and told me he was impressed by how I'd handled the situation, how I'd kept my head down and let my work speak for itself. "You've got a good future here, Landon," he'd said. That same week, Mr. Patterson promoted me again, this time to Senior Marketing Coordinator. The title came with another raise, a bigger office, and the authority to hire my own small team. I was 20 years old and managing 3 people. I'd never felt more capable. Emma and I had been talking about moving in together. We spent most nights at one or the other's apartment anyway, and combining our rent would let us afford something nicer. We'd looked at a few places, found a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood with hardwood floors and enough space for both of us to work from home when needed. The landlord had approved our application. We were planning to move in at the end of the month. Then, on a Saturday afternoon in late March, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it to find both my parents and Tyler standing in the hallway. Mom held a casserole dish covered in aluminum foil. Dad carried a folder stuffed with papers. Tyler stood slightly behind them, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," Mom said. Not asking, telling. I should have closed the door. I should have told them to leave. Instead, some part of me that still wanted their approval, still hoped they might acknowledge what they'd done, let them in. They sat on my couch, and I stood by the kitchen counter, keeping distance between us. Mom set the casserole on my counter, without asking if I wanted it. "We're here for an intervention," Dad said, pulling papers from his folder. "We've been talking to a family therapist about your behavior, and she agrees that you're showing signs of serious psychological issues." "What behavior?" I asked. "I haven't talked to any of you in 6 months." "Exactly," Mom said. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was firm. "You cut off your entire family over one misunderstanding. You refused to come home for Thanksgiving. You didn't send Tyler a Christmas gift. You've isolated yourself completely. That's not normal, Landon. That's a sign of mental illness." Tyler pulled out his phone and started reading from it. I looked up the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. Grandiose sense of self-importance. Preoccupation with fantasies of success and power. Lack of empathy. These all describe you perfectly. "Tyler has been so worried about you," Dad said. "He came to us months ago, crying about how his older brother abandoned him. He's been seeing a counselor because of how much your rejection hurt him." I stared at them, trying to process what I was hearing. They'd come here to tell me I was mentally ill. They'd diagnosed me based on Tyler's lies. "I'm not the one who needs help," I said carefully. "Tyler faked a medical emergency to lure me to a hospital. He edited audio of me to make me sound threatening. He called my workplace with false accusations. These are facts. I have evidence." "You have paranoid delusions," Mom said, and her voice broke on the last word. "Tyler would never do those things. He's just a kid. He's sensitive and scared and hurt, and instead of coming home and being his big brother, you're inventing these elaborate conspiracies. We want you to come to family therapy with us," Dad said. He held out one of the papers from his folder. It was a brochure for a family counseling center. "We've already scheduled an appointment for next week. All 4 of us. We'll work through this together." "No," I said. "Landon." "Please," Mom said. She was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. "We're losing you. Tyler is losing his brother. Don't you care about this family at all?" "I care about the family I thought I had," I said. "The one where my birthday mattered, where my parents believed me when I told them the truth. But that family doesn't exist. It never did." Tyler stood up suddenly. "See?" he said to our parents. "This is exactly what I've been telling you. He's completely detached from reality. He thinks we're all against him. It's textbook paranoia." Dad stood too, putting a hand on Tyler's shoulder in a protective gesture that made my chest ache. "If you won't get help voluntarily, We'll have to consider other options, Dad said. We've been documenting your behavior. If we need to pursue an involuntary psychiatric evaluation, we will. You're threatening to have me committed? I asked. My voice sounded strange. Too high and too thin. We're trying to save you, Mom said. Before you spiral completely. I told them to leave. They refused at first, insisting we needed to work through this. I had to threaten to call the police before they finally went. Tyler was the last one out, and he paused in my doorway. You could have just stayed in your place, he said quietly, making sure our parents were down the hall and couldn't hear. You could have been the mediocre older brother who never made waves. But you had to go and make something of yourself. You had to post about it online. Now everyone can see that you're better than me, and I can't let that stand. Then he smiled and walked away. I closed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking. For 2 weeks, I waited for the next attack. I knew Tyler wouldn't stop. He'd escalated every time, going from passive manipulation to active sabotage. But nothing happened. No calls to my work. No fake emergencies. No edited audio files. I started to think maybe the confrontation at my apartment had been enough. Maybe seeing that I wouldn't be intimidated had finally convinced him to leave me alone. Then I got a call from a credit card fraud investigation department. The woman on the phone was professional but firm. She explained that a card in my name had been used to make over $7,000 in fraudulent purchases over the past 3 months. Electronics, designer clothing, gaming equipment, all shipped to addresses that weren't mine. I don't have that credit card, I said. I've never had that card. You're listed as an authorized user, she said. The primary cardholder is Diane Garrett, your mother. The memory hit me like cold water. When I was 18, my parents had added me as an authorized user on one of their cards to help me build credit history. I'd never actually received a physical card, never used the account, had forgotten it even existed. Someone has been using the card to make purchases, the investigator continued. The shipping addresses don't match the primary cardholder's address or yours. The primary cardholder reported the charges as fraudulent and suggested the authorized user might be responsible. I didn't make those purchases, I said. Check the IP addresses. Check the shipping locations. I can provide alibi documentation for every single transaction date. We'll need you to come in for an interview, she said. I hired a lawyer. It cost me $2,000 I didn't have, paid for with my own credit card at a high interest rate. The lawyer was a sharp woman named Teresa Park who specialized in financial fraud defense. She listened to my story, reviewed the evidence I'd compiled about Tyler's previous sabotage attempts, and nodded grimly. This is calculated, she said. Whoever did this knew exactly how to make you look guilty. Over the next 3 weeks, I gathered evidence for my defense. Security camera footage from my workplace, showing I was at the office when purchases were made. Receipts from my own purchases showing I had my own money and no need to commit fraud. Character references from Mr. Patterson and my coworkers. Alibis for every single transaction. Teresa presented it all to the credit card company and the police. The charges against me were eventually dropped, but the investigation remained on my record. My credit score, which I'd been carefully building, plummeted. The hard inquiry from the fraud investigation, combined with the disputed charges, dropped my score by over 100 points. The timing couldn't have been worse. Emma and I were supposed to sign the lease on our new apartment in 5 days. The landlord ran a credit check as part of the final approval. He called me the next day. "I'm sorry, Landon," he said. "Your credit check came back with some red flags. There's a fraud investigation on your record. I can't approve you as a tenant." The charges were dropped, I said desperately. I was cleared. I can provide documentation. "I believe you," he said. And he sounded genuinely sympathetic. "But my insurance company won't. Policy is policy. I can't make exceptions." Emma was devastated. She'd already given notice at her current place. We scrambled to find alternatives, but every apartment we applied to ran the same credit check. Everyone rejected us. We had to put our plans on hold. Emma had to scramble to find a month-to-month sublet. She was understanding, but I could see the frustration in her eyes, the way she flinched every time I mentioned my family. "This is never going to end, is it?" she asked me one night. We were sitting in her temporary sublet, a tiny studio that smelled like old carpet and the previous tenant's cat. I don't know, I said honestly. The lawyer fees had drained my savings. I was 2 months behind on building an emergency fund again. The credit damage would take years to repair, and I still had to call my parents to demand they remove me from their credit card account. Mom answered on the third ring. "Landon," she said, and she sounded tired. "Your father and I have been so worried." "Remove me from your credit card," I said. "Right now. I'm on the phone with you. Call the company and do it." "We already did that when the fraud was reported," she said. "But Landon, we need to talk about how this happened. The credit card company said someone used our card to buy all those things. If it wasn't you, then who was it?" "It was Tyler," I said. Silence on the other end. "Tyler wouldn't know how to do something like that," Mom finally said. "Tyler had access to your financial information. He knew I was on that card. He used it to frame me for fraud. That's a serious accusation, Landon. Tyler is 17 years old. He's not some criminal mastermind." "Look at the evidence," I said. "Look at the shipping addresses. Look at what was purchased. Gaming equipment, designer sneakers, electronics. Those are things Tyler would want." "We need to stop this," Mom said, and now her voice was hard. "This paranoia about your brother is getting out of control. You're accusing him of crimes now. Maybe we were right to suggest a psychiatric evaluation." I hung up. That night, I lay awake in my studio apartment, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what Tyler would do next. Because there would be a next time. Every solution I found just gave him a new way to attack me. I'd blocked him from my life, so he'd use my parents' accounts against me. I'd built a career, so he'd tried to destroy my reputation. I'd tried to move forward, so he'd destroyed my credit. I was trapped in a cycle where every step forward gave Tyler new ammunition, and my parents would never hold him accountable. They'd rather believe I was mentally ill than admit they'd raised a manipulator. I couldn't see a way out. 10 months after moving out, I'd managed to claw my way back to something resembling stability. My credit was slowly recovering, point by painful point. I'd worked overtime for 3 months straight to rebuild my depleted savings. Emma and I were still together, though we'd abandoned plans to move in together. The failed apartment attempt had made her cautious, and I couldn't blame her. "I love you," she'd told me. "But I need to see that this situation with your family is actually manageable. Right now, it feels like we're constantly waiting for the next disaster." So, I focused on work. I poured everything I had into my job, staying late every night, volunteering for the difficult projects no one else wanted. "Mr. Patterson noticed, you're one of my best people, Landon," he told me in April. "I'm putting you on the pitch team for a major new client." The client was a regional retail chain called Homestyle, 23 stores across 3 states. They were looking to completely overhaul their marketing strategy, and they wanted a fresh, innovative approach. The contract was worth $200,000, the biggest client our firm had ever pursued. I spent 3 weeks working on the pitch. I analyzed Homestyle's current marketing, identified gaps, researched their customer demographics, studied their competitors. I created a comprehensive strategy that would modernize their brand while respecting their traditional customer base. Social media campaigns, influencer partnerships, community outreach programs, in-store experience enhancements, everything. The presentation was scheduled for a Tuesday in late April. The client, a vice president of marketing named Harold Brennan, would visit our office. "Mr. Patterson made it clear this pitch could determine the future trajectory of the company. Land this client, and we're looking at expanding the team," he said. "That means a management position opening up. You'd be first in line for consideration." I worked on the presentation until my eyes burned. Jake brought me dinner at the office most nights. Emma called to check on me, reminding me to sleep. I felt like I was finally building something that Tyler couldn't touch. This wasn't about my family. This was about my work, my talent, my dedication. Tyler had no way to interfere with a business presentation he didn't even know about. I was careful this time. I didn't post anything on social media. I didn't mention the pitch to anyone outside work. I'd learned to keep my successes private until they were secured. But I'd forgotten about LinkedIn. I'd posted a single professional update. Excited for a major client presentation this week. Looking forward to showcasing what our team can do. No details. No client name. Just a generic professional post, the kind of thing people post on LinkedIn every day. Tyler had created a fake LinkedIn profile months ago. I didn't know about it. He'd used a fake name, a stock photo, listed himself as working in marketing at a non-existent company. He'd connected with me as a supposed industry contact, and I'd accepted because the profile looked legitimate. He'd been watching my professional updates for months. On Sunday night, 2 days before the pitch, Tyler did his research. He searched for regional retail chains considering marketing overhauls. He found news articles about Homestyle's search for a new agency. He made educated guesses based on the timing of my LinkedIn post and the size of our firm. Then he got to work. He created a fake email address. Not just any fake email, a fake that looked almost exactly like my work email. The real one was landon.garrett@pattersonmarketing.com. The fake one was landon.garrett@pattersonmkg.com. Easy to miss if you weren't looking carefully. On Monday morning, Harold Brennan received an email from the fake address. I didn't find out about it until Mr. Patterson called me into his office Monday afternoon, his face pale with fury. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, turning his computer screen toward me. The email read, "Mr. Brennan, I wanted to reach out before tomorrow's presentation to give you a reality check. Your company is outdated, your current marketing is pathetic, and your brand is basically dead to anyone under 50. You should feel lucky that Patterson Marketing is even considering working with you, because frankly, you need us more than we need you. See you tomorrow if you can handle some harsh truths." It was signed with my name. My stomach dropped into my shoes. "I didn't write this," I said immediately. "Harold Brennan called me an hour ago," Mr. Patterson said. His voice was shaking with rage. He canceled tomorrow's presentation. He said he'd never work with a firm that employs someone this unprofessional. He's filing a formal complaint with the local business bureau. He's telling everyone he knows to avoid Patterson Marketing. "Look at the email address," I said desperately. "It's not mine. Someone created a fake email to impersonate me." Mr. Patterson looked. His expression shifted slightly from fury to confusion, then back to anger. "Someone is sabotaging you," he said. "Again, this is the 4th incident. Landon. The workplace harassment call. The edited audio file. The credit card fraud. Now this. I don't care if you're innocent. I don't care if your family is destroying your life. I can't have this in my company anymore. Give me 1 day," I begged. 24 hours. Let me prove who did this. Let me fix this with Harold Brennan." "There's nothing to fix," Mr. Patterson said. "The pitch is canceled. The client is gone. The company's reputation is damaged. And the other executives are demanding your termination." "Please," I said. My voice broke on the word. Mr. Patterson looked at me for a long moment. I saw something like pity cross his face. "I'm demoting you," he said finally. "Back to marketing coordinator. Your salary will be reduced accordingly. This is your absolute last chance, Landon. One more incident, even one more hint of drama, and you're gone. I mean it." I left his office and went straight to the bathroom, where I locked myself in a stall and tried not to fall apart. My promotion was gone. My raise was gone. The respect I'd earned over 10 months of flawless work was gone. All because Tyler had sent one email. I called a cybersecurity expert that evening, a friend of Jake's who owed him a favor. He traced the fake email to a coffee shop near Tyler's high school. He pulled security footage that showed Tyler sitting at a corner table with a laptop at the exact time the email was sent. I had proof. Clear, undeniable proof. I drove to my parents' house for the first time in 10 months. I rang the doorbell and waited. Mom answered, her eyes going wide. "Landon," she breathed. "You're here." "Oh, thank God. Come in, come in." "I need to show you something," I said. I didn't go inside. "Where's Tyler?" "He's upstairs doing homework." "Why?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the evidence. The fake email. The IP trace. The security footage of Tyler. At the coffee shop. I explained everything calmly, with facts and dates and documentation. Mom watched the video. She looked at the data. Then she looked at me. "Tyler wouldn't do this," she said. "This doesn't prove anything. Lots of kids go to that coffee shop. Look at the timestamp, I said. Look at the exact minute the email was sent. Tyler is on camera, on his laptop, at that exact moment. Coincidence, she said. You're trying to frame your brother. Why would I do that? Because you're jealous, she said simply. Because Tyler is happy and successful, and you can't stand it. Because you need someone to blame for your own failures. I stared at her. You really believe that? I believe you need help, Landon. Professional help. This obsession with blaming Tyler for everything is destroying you. No, I said quietly. Tyler is destroying me. And you're letting him. She closed the door in my face. I sat in my car outside their house for 20 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. I'd provided irrefutable evidence, and it hadn't mattered. They'd chosen to believe Tyler was innocent rather than admit they'd been enabling him all along. When I got home, Emma was waiting in my apartment. I'd given her a key months ago. She was sitting on my couch, her face serious. We need to talk, she said. I knew what was coming before she said it. I can't do this anymore, she said. Her voice was gentle but firm. I love you, Landon. I really do. But your family is never going to stop. Tyler is never going to stop. And I can't build a life where I'm constantly waiting for the next disaster, the next attack, the next thing that gets destroyed. I'll fix this, I said. How? She asked. You've tried everything. You've moved out, blocked them, hired lawyers, gathered evidence. Nothing works because your parents won't hold Tyler accountable. And as long as that's true, he'll keep coming after you. I can't live like that. I'm sorry. She stood up and handed me the key. Then she walked out, and I was alone in my studio apartment with my demotion notice and my destroyed pitch and the security footage that proved Tyler's guilt, but changed nothing. I'd lost my promotion. I'd lost my salary. I'd lost my girlfriend. And Tyler had barely even tried this time. One fake email. 5 minutes of work. Complete devastation. The cycle was getting worse. The attacks were getting bigger, and I had no way to stop them. 1 year after moving out, I was barely recognizable as the person I'd been. I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. I had permanent dark circles under my eyes from sleeping 4 hours a night. I worked overtime constantly, trying to rebuild my reputation at Patterson Marketing, trying to prove I deserved to be there. Mr. Patterson treated me with cautious kindness, like I was a valuable employee who'd become a liability. My coworkers were polite but distant. Everyone knew about the drama now. Everyone walked on eggshells around me. Emma hadn't contacted me since she left. I saw her posts on social media sometimes, living her life without me. She looked happy. Lighter. I couldn't blame her for leaving. Jake was my only real friend left. He let me vent when I needed to, brought me food when I forgot to eat, didn't judge me for becoming a shell of who I'd been. In early September, I was given a chance to redeem myself. A new executive at the firm, a woman named Patricia Ramos, didn't know my history. She only knew my work output, which had been flawless for months. She offered me a small project leading a campaign for a local yoga studio. It wasn't glamorous. It wouldn't make or break the company. But it was mine, and it was a chance. I threw myself into it with desperate intensity. I met with the studio owner, a kind woman named Grace, who wanted to expand her client base. I created a campaign focused on community, accessibility, and mental health. It was genuine work, and I was proud of it. The campaign launched in late September. Early results were promising. Then Tyler graduated high school. My parents threw him a massive graduation party at a rented event hall. They invited 150 people. They hired a DJ and a photographer. They bought him a car as a graduation present, a shiny blue sedan with a bow on top that they posed him next to for photos. The photos flooded social media. My parents posted them. Tyler posted them. Extended family members posted them. Everyone commenting about what a special day it was, what an amazing young man Tyler had become, how proud the family was. I saw the posts because relatives I'd forgotten to block kept tagging our family name. Each photo was a knife in my chest. The massive celebration Tyler got for graduating high school compared to the canceled dinner I'd gotten for turning 20. Tyler posted a long, heartfelt caption under his photos. It read, "So grateful for my amazing family who supported me through these 4 years. Special thanks to Mom and Dad for believing in me and always being there. Family is everything. Some people don't understand that, and that's their loss. I'm blessed to have parents who would do anything for me." The implication was clear. Some people meant me, but Tyler wasn't done. 2 days after his graduation, he posted again. This time, it wasn't subtle. The post was long, several paragraphs, carefully crafted to sound hurt and confused rather than angry. It said, "I've been hesitant to share this publicly, but I think it's important to talk about family estrangement and what it does to those left behind. Over a year ago, my older brother cut off our entire family because we asked him to share the spotlight with me just once. It was my parents' anniversary weekend, and I was going through a hard time, and they wanted to postpone his birthday dinner by 1 day to help me. He moved out that night and hasn't spoken to any of us since. He's threatened me, tried to frame me for things I didn't do, and torn our family apart. I just graduated high school, one of the biggest moments of my life, and he didn't even send a text. He's blocked all of us online, hired investigators to follow me, and told anyone who'll listen that I'm the problem. Mom cries about it constantly. Dad barely sleeps. I feel guilty every time something good happens to me because I know he'll use it as another excuse to hate us. Please keep our family in your prayers. If anyone has dealt with a family member with narcissistic personality disorder, I'd appreciate advice on how to cope." He posted it everywhere. Instagram, the place where it would reach the most people. He tagged it with hashtags about family, mental health, estrangement, narcissism. The post went viral. Within 6 hours, it had 500 shares. Within 12 hours, over 1,000. People who knew our family from church, from the neighborhood, from high school, started sharing it and commenting. I always thought Landon seemed cold. Poor Tyler, having to deal with a brother like that. Praying for your family. Narcissists never change. Stay strong. You're better off without toxic people. The comments multiplied. Strangers who didn't know me started psychoanalyzing me based on Tyler's post. Some people who'd known me growing up left comments saying they'd always sensed something off about me. By the end of the day, the post had been shared 1,500 times. I found out about it when coworkers started giving me strange looks. Carol, the receptionist, stopped smiling at me. 2 people from the design team whispered and fell silent when I walked by. Then Patricia Ramos called me into her office. "Landon, I need to ask you about something," she said carefully. "There's a social media post circulating about you. Several people have sent it to me. It's from someone claiming to be your brother." She turned her screen toward me. Tyler's post filled the monitor, along with hundreds of comments. I read it in silence. Every word was a calculated lie wrapped in a kernel of truth. Yes, I'd moved out on my birthday. But Tyler left out why. Yes, I'd hired a private investigator. But Tyler left out that it was to prove he'd committed fraud. Every fact was twisted just enough to make me look like the villain. "None of that is true," I said. "Or rather, it's all technically true but completely out of context. Tyler has been sabotaging me for over a year. I have evidence." "I believe you might have your side of the story," Patricia said. "But Landon, this is getting out of hand. This has been shared over 1,000 times. People are talking about it. Some of them are our clients." The yoga studio owner called me this morning asking if she should be concerned about working with you. "What did you tell her?" "I told her you were a consummate professional and that personal matters didn't affect your work. But I need you to understand how this looks. Your name is being connected to words like narcissist and toxic and threatening. That's not good for the company. I mar, 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 I mar. Tyler is lying to destroy my reputation," I said. "He's done this before, multiple times." "Then you need to address it," she said, publicly. "Set the record straight. Because right now, his version is the only version people are seeing." I spent that evening trying to craft a response. Every version I wrote sounded defensive. Every explanation sounded like excuses. Tyler had framed the narrative so perfectly that anything I said would just make me sound like exactly what he'd accused me of being. I deleted every draft. The next day, the post continued spreading. It jumped from local social media to regional groups. Someone created a thread about it on a local community forum. People who'd gone to high school with me 10 years ago started chiming in with memories of me being difficult or standoffish. The hate mail started arriving in my work email. Someone had found my professional contact information and shared it. Dozens of emails from strangers telling me I was a terrible person, that I should apologize to my family, that people like me didn't deserve success. HR called me in. "We need to talk about the volume of emails you're receiving," the HR director said. She was a stern woman named Margaret who I'd barely interacted with before. "It's affecting company systems. We're getting overflow complaints from clients about our email server being slow." "I'm sorry," I said. "I'll ask people to stop." "How?" Margaret asked. "You can't control what random internet people do." "But Landon, this is becoming a significant distraction. Other employees are spending work time reading about your family situation instead of working. It's affecting productivity." 2 days later, Tyler took it further. He filed a police report. The report claimed I'd been stalking and harassing him for months. He listed the private investigator as evidence, claiming I'd hired someone to follow him. He included screenshots of my blocked social media profiles as proof I was obsessed with him. He claimed I'd sent threatening messages through fake accounts. It was all lies, but it was documented now. Official. The police called me in for questioning. I had to take a day off work. I had to sit in a small gray room and explain my side, while a detective took notes with a skeptical expression. "Your brother seems genuinely frightened of you," the detective said. "My brother is a liar," I said. "He's been systematically destroying my life for over a year. I hired the investigator to prove he committed credit card fraud. I have documentation. I showed him everything. Every piece of evidence I'd collected." The detective looked through it without comment. "We'll investigate," he said finally. "Don't leave town." The investigation was public record. A local news blogger who covered police reports included it in a weekly roundup. Local marketing professional under investigation for harassment and stalking of younger brother. The blog didn't use my name, but it included enough details that anyone following Tyler's social media post could connect the dots. Comments on the blog post confirmed people had figured it out. "That's the narcissist brother from that viral post. He should be in jail. Hope they throw the book at him." Mr. Patterson called me into his office. His expression was grave. "Landon, I've tried to be understanding," he said. "I've given you more chances than I've given anyone. But this is untenable. The police investigation is in the news. Clients are asking questions. Employees are uncomfortable. I have to think about the company. The charges will be dismissed," I said desperately. "My lawyer says we have clear evidence that Tyler is lying." "When?" Mr. Patterson asked. "How long will the investigation take? Weeks? Months? How long am I supposed to wait while this hangs over my company?" "Please," I said. He shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry, Landon. I really am. You're a talented marketer and a hard worker. But I can't have this level of controversy associated with Patterson Marketing. You're terminated, effective immediately. I'll give you 2 weeks severance. That's the best I can do." I cleaned out my desk while people watched from their cubicles. Carol didn't say goodbye. Patricia looked away when I walked past her office. Only Jake came over to help me carry my boxes to the car. "This is so unfair," he said. I didn't respond. There wasn't anything to say. The investigation took 3 weeks to resolve. My lawyer presented evidence that the private investigator was hired to investigate fraud, not to stalk anyone. The police reviewed Tyler's claims and found no actual evidence of threatening messages or harassment. The charges were dismissed. But the damage was permanent. I applied for jobs. 12 marketing firms in the area. They all ran background checks. The police investigation showed up, dismissed or not. 8 companies never called me back. 3 rejected me after initial interviews. 1 told me honestly that they couldn't risk the controversy. I was blacklisted. I couldn't pay rent. I couldn't afford my car payment. I had $600 left in savings. Jake offered to let me crash on his couch, and I had no choice but to accept. I took a job at a warehouse loading trucks overnight. Minimum wage, no benefits. The work was brutal, 10-hour shifts lifting boxes until my back screamed. But it was something. Tyler, meanwhile, started college. His social media showed him moving into a dorm, meeting new friends, going to parties. Our parents paid for everything: tuition, room and board, meal plan, spending money. Tyler posted photos with captions like "New Chapter" and "Blessed Life," and so grateful for family support. I saw the posts on my phone during my lunch break at the warehouse, sitting on a loading dock at 3 in the morning, eating a gas station sandwich because it was all I could afford. I'd lost everything: my job, my apartment, my girlfriend, my reputation, my future. And Tyler had barely broken a sweat. 13 months after moving out, I was working overnight shifts at the warehouse, sleeping on Jake's couch during the day, and trying to figure out how to rebuild a life that Tyler had demolished. I'd applied for jobs in other cities: Seattle, Portland, even a few positions in California. But the background check problem followed me everywhere. The dismissed police investigation, combined with Tyler's viral social media post, created a digital footprint that was impossible to escape. Potential employers would Google my name and find Tyler's post, shared and reshared across multiple platforms. One hiring manager had been honest with me during a phone interview. "Landon, your work history is impressive, and your references speak highly of you. But when I search your name, I find allegations of family estrangement, harassment, narcissistic behavior. Even if those things aren't true, I can't take that risk. I'm sorry." So I kept loading trucks. 10 hours a night, 5 nights a week, making barely enough to contribute to Jake's rent and buy food. My body hurt constantly. My hands developed calluses, then blisters, then more calluses. I lost 15 pounds I didn't have to lose. Jake worried about me. I could see it in the way he left food out for me when I got home from work, the way he casually mentioned counseling services, the way he stopped inviting me to social events because he knew I'd say no. "You need to take care of yourself," he said one morning when I came home from work. "You look terrible, man. When's the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" "I'm fine," I said, because admitting otherwise felt like giving Tyler another victory. My mental health was deteriorating. I knew it but couldn't stop it. I spent my waking hours either working or obsessively monitoring Tyler's social media from fake accounts he didn't know about, watching him live the life I should have had, watching him succeed on my parents' money while I sorted packages in a warehouse. In October, my mother called. Her number was still blocked, but she called Jake's phone, knowing I'd see it on his caller ID. "Your mom called," Jake told me after work one night. "She wants to talk to you. Says it's important." I stared at his phone like it was a snake. "She said something about Thanksgiving," Jake added, "about wanting to reconcile." I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to say no. But 13 months of isolation, of fighting alone, of losing everything, had worn me down. Some small, desperate part of me still wanted my family, still hoped they might see the truth. I called her back. "Landon," she said, and her voice broke on my name. "Oh, sweetheart, I've missed you so much." "What do you want?" I asked. My voice was flat. "I want my son back," she said. "We want you back. This has gone on too long. We're a family, and families forgive each other. Please come to Thanksgiving dinner. Let's talk. Let's try to fix this." "Tyler destroyed my life," I said. "He's cost me my job, my reputation, my future. And you've defended him every step of the way." "I know you believe that," she said carefully. "And maybe we haven't listened to you the way we should have. So let's talk. Really talk. The whole family will be there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, Grandma Jean. Everyone who loves you. We can work through this together." The mention of Grandma Jean got to me. She was 84 years old, and I hadn't seen her since I moved out. She'd sent me birthday cards I'd been too angry to open. "Will Tyler be there?" I asked. A pause. "Yes. But he wants to make peace too, Landon. He misses his big brother. I should have said no. But I was so tired, so worn down, so desperate for some kind of resolution. Fine, I said. I'll come. Thanksgiving was on a Thursday. I took the bus to my parents' house because I'd sold my car 3 weeks earlier to pay bills. The house looked exactly the same, like I'd never left, like the past 13 months had been a dream. I rang the doorbell instead of using my old key, which I'd left behind the night I moved out. Dad opened the door. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then he smiled, and it looked genuine. "Welcome home, son," he said. The house was full of people. Extended family I hadn't seen in over a year. Aunt Cheryl and Uncle Bill. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Mark. Cousins Emma and Ryan and little Sophie. Grandma Jean sitting in Dad's recliner, her face lighting up when she saw me. "Landon," she said, holding out her arms. "Come here, baby." I hugged her, and for a moment, I felt like maybe this could work. Maybe we really could fix things. Tyler stood in the kitchen doorway, watching. When our eyes met, he smiled. It looked friendly, warm, even. He walked over and held out his hand. "Hey, man," he said. "I'm glad you came." I shook his hand because everyone was watching, waiting to see if I'd make a scene. For 2 hours, it felt almost normal. We ate appetizers. We talked about safe topics like sports and weather and Aunt Cheryl's new job. People asked me polite questions about what I was doing, and I gave vague answers. No one mentioned my job loss or the police investigation or Tyler's viral post. Tyler was charming, playing the perfect younger brother. He asked me about my life with apparent genuine interest. He laughed at my jokes. He helped serve food. If I hadn't known better, I would have believed he'd changed. I let my guard down. It was the biggest mistake I'd made in 13 months. Halfway through dinner, Tyler stood up. He tapped his glass with a fork, getting everyone's attention. "I'd like to make a toast," he said, smiling at the assembled family. Everyone raised their glasses, smiling back. Tyler turned to me. "I especially want to thank my brother Landon for finally getting help for his issues and coming back to the family. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong, and I'm proud of you for taking that step." The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. "I didn't get help," I said quietly. "I'm not wrong." "Tyler, what are you doing?" "It's okay," Tyler said, his voice dripping with fake compassion. "We're all here to support you. That's what families do." He pulled out his phone and connected it to the TV in the dining room. The screen lit up with a slideshow. Photos appeared. Text messages appeared. Screenshots appeared. All of them doctored, edited, taken out of context, or completely fabricated. Photos of me from social media with captions Tyler had written, making me look obsessed with him. Text messages that had been edited to remove context, making me look threatening. Screenshots from fake accounts Tyler claimed I'd created to harass him. "I've been documenting Landon's harassment for over a year," Tyler said, his voice breaking theatrically. "I've tried to keep it private, tried to protect him, but I think everyone needs to see what our family has been dealing with. What I've been dealing with." The slideshow continued. More fake evidence, more manipulated images, all of it designed to make me look dangerous and unstable. Grandma Jean started crying. Aunt Cheryl put a hand over her mouth. Uncle Bill stood up, glaring at me. "Is this true?" he demanded. "None of that is real," I said. My voice came out strangled. Tyler doctored those messages. Those accounts aren't mine. This is exactly what I've been trying to tell everyone. Tyler is manipulating all of you. "Landon, please stop," Mom said. Her voice was pleading. "Tyler has been seeing a therapist because of how scared he is of you. We've all been walking on eggshells. You're finally here, finally willing to talk, and you're still blaming Tyler for everything." Tyler covered his face with his hands and made sobbing sounds. Dad stood up and put an arm around him. "I think you should leave," Dad said to me. His voice was cold, all traces of earlier warmth gone. "This was a mistake. We thought you were ready to take responsibility. But you're still in denial." "You set this up?" I said to Tyler. "This whole thing was a trap." Tyler looked at me through his fingers, and for just a second, the mask dropped. I saw satisfaction in his eyes, triumph. Then he hid his face again and sobbed louder. Please leave, Mom said. You're upsetting everyone. I stood up. My hands were shaking. Every face in that room looked at me with disgust, disappointment, or fear, except Tyler, who was peeking at me between his fingers with those triumphant eyes. As I walked toward the door, I realized something. Tyler had been recording. There were cameras set up. Tiny ones, hidden among the decorations. He'd documented the entire dinner, and now he'd have footage of me being asked to leave, of the family turning on me, of me disrupting Thanksgiving. He was going to edit that footage and post it online. More proof that I was the problem. More ammunition to destroy what was left of my reputation. I left without another word and waited at the bus stop for 45 minutes in the cold November evening. By the time I got back to Jake's apartment, it was past 9 o'clock. I sat on his couch in the dark, staring at nothing. I'd lost. Completely, totally, irrevocably lost. Tyler had won. He'd isolated me from my family, destroyed my career, ruined my reputation, and now he'd created permanent evidence that I was exactly what he'd claimed I was. I had nothing, no job prospects, no family, no girlfriend, no future. I was sleeping on a friend's couch and working a minimum wage job that barely covered my share of rent. Tyler had everything. College paid for. Family support. A perfect reputation. A bright future. I thought about giving up. Not in any dramatic way. Just accepting defeat. Changing my name. Moving to another city. Starting over as someone else. Letting Tyler have his victory and walking away from everything. I sat there for 3 hours, running through options, trying to see a way forward. Then my phone buzzed. A notification. An email. It was from someone I didn't know. The subject line read, "I saw what happened to you." I opened it. The message was from one of Tyler's classmates from high school, someone who'd been in the background of Tyler's graduation photos. The email said, "I saw your brother's Thanksgiving post." He live-streamed part of it to his close friends on Instagram before he deleted it. I saved the video before he took it down. In the full video, you can see him setting up the cameras and practicing his breakdown before you arrived. You can hear him telling your mom what to say. I thought you should know. I also know he bragged about destroying your career at a party last month. Several people heard it. I can get you their contact information if you want to prove he's been lying. I read the email 3 times. Tyler had made a mistake. In his arrogance, in his certainty that he'd won, he'd let his guard down. He'd documented his own manipulation. He'd bragged about his schemes to people who weren't as loyal as he'd thought. And now I had proof, real proof, proof that even my parents couldn't ignore. I spent the rest of the night awake, planning. Not revenge. Not retaliation. Just exposure. I was going to tell the truth, all of it, publicly, with evidence. Tyler had spent 13 months destroying me in the shadows. I was going to drag everything he'd done into the light. I spent 2 weeks gathering everything. The high school classmate who'd emailed me sent the video of Tyler setting up cameras and coaching our mother on what to say. She also connected me with 4 other people who'd heard Tyler bragging about his schemes. I contacted my lawyer, Teresa Park, and asked her to compile a legal document outlining every instance of fraud, harassment, and defamation. She worked with the private investigator to create a comprehensive timeline with dates, IP addresses, witness statements, and financial records. I organized everything into 8 categories: the canceled birthday and immediate aftermath, the workplace harassment calls, the credit card fraud, the fake email to Harold Brennan, the edited audio recordings, the false police report, the social media smear campaign, and the Thanksgiving setup. For each category, I had documentation. Screenshots with metadata. Security footage. Police reports. Witness testimonies. Financial records. Everything organized chronologically, cross-referenced, presented as clearly as possible. I created a blog post. Not emotional, not accusatory, just facts. The title was, "The Truth About My Family Estrangement, a Complete Timeline with Evidence." I wrote it in the same tone I'd use for a work presentation. Professional. Measured. Letting the evidence speak for itself. I explained each incident without editorializing, included the relevant documentation, and provided context where necessary. I didn't attack Tyler. I didn't call him names or speculate about his motives. I just presented what he'd done, when he'd done it, and the evidence proving it. The post was 12,000 words long with over 50 pieces of supporting documentation. At the end, I included this paragraph. I'm sharing this not for sympathy or revenge, but because the truth matters. For 13 months, I've been publicly labeled as a narcissist, a stalker, a threat to my family. These accusations have cost me my career, my home, my relationships, and my reputation. I've provided this evidence so that people can make their own informed judgments. I'm not asking anyone to take my side. I'm just asking that they look at the facts. I posted it on a simple blogging platform at 2 in the morning on a Saturday. Then I shared the link on my social media accounts, which I'd kept private for months. Just a simple post, the truth about what's been happening. Then I went to sleep. When I woke up 6 hours later, the post had been shared 200 times. By evening, 500. By the next morning, over 1,000. The tide was turning. People who'd condemned me started leaving comments apologizing. People who'd believed Tyler's version started questioning it. The evidence was irrefutable. The timeline was clear. The pattern of escalation was obvious. Comments started appearing. I shared Tyler's post calling you a narcissist. I'm so sorry. I should have looked for both sides. This is horrifying. Tyler is clearly the manipulator here. The evidence of the credit card fraud alone should be enough for criminal charges. I can't believe your parents enabled this. More people came forward. A college friend of Tyler's remembered him showing off the fake email he'd sent to Harold Brennan. A neighbor had seen Tyler setting up security cameras around my parents' house for the Thanksgiving trap. A coworker from the coffee shop confirmed Tyler had been there the day the email was sent. The validation was overwhelming. After 13 months of being called a liar, of having my reality questioned, of being told I was mentally ill, people were finally seeing the truth. But Tyler saw it too. By Sunday evening, Tyler had posted a response. It was panicked, defensive, full of excuses. He claimed the evidence was fabricated, that I'd doctored documents to frame him, but his response had no counter-evidence, no proof, just accusations and emotional appeals. The response made him look worse. Comments on his post turned negative. Where's your evidence that he doctored anything? This sounds like deflection. You've been caught. Just admit it. One of Tyler's college friends, someone who'd been tagged in his earlier celebration posts, commented publicly. Dude, you literally showed me the fake email and bragged about sending it. Why are you lying now? Tyler deleted the comment. Then he deleted his entire response post. Then he tried to delete his original viral Thanksgiving post. But it had been screenshotted and reshared too many times. The unraveling was swift and brutal. On Monday, I got a call from Mr. Patterson. Landon, he said, and his voice was different. Apologetic. I saw your blog post. I spent yesterday reading through all the evidence. I owe you an enormous apology. We all do. Thank you, I said. I was sitting on Jake's couch, staring at my phone, watching the share count on my post climb toward 1,500. I'd like you to come back to Patterson Marketing, he said. Not just come back. I'd like to offer you the senior marketing coordinator position again, with the salary you should have been making all along, plus back pay for the 3 months you were wrongfully terminated, and a formal apology from the entire executive team. I was silent for a long moment. I appreciate that, I said finally, but I need some time to think about it. Of course, he said. The offer stands whenever you're ready. 3 other marketing firms reached out that day. They'd seen my blog post, recognized the quality of my work despite the circumstances, and wanted to interview me. One was a larger firm in Seattle, offering a management position with a significant salary increase. Emma called Tuesday morning. I saw your post, she said. Her voice was soft. Landon, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you. I let the pressure get to me, and I abandoned you when you needed support most. You did what you needed to do, I said. I don't blame you. Can we get coffee? She asked. I'd like to talk. No pressure. Just talk. I'd like that, I said. The post continued spreading. Local news picked it up as a story about toxic family dynamics and social media manipulation. A regional newspaper ran an article about the dangers of viral call-out culture and the importance of due diligence. Tyler's college became aware of the post. Someone forwarded it to the student conduct office. The evidence of credit card fraud and false police reports triggered an investigation. Tyler's scholarship was placed under review, pending the outcome. The district attorney's office reopened the credit card fraud case based on the new evidence. Tyler was called in for questioning. This time, the police weren't investigating me. They were investigating him. My parents called Wednesday evening. Both on the line, their voices small and shocked. "We didn't know," Mom said. She was crying. "Landon, we didn't know it was this bad. We thought you were exaggerating. We thought it was just sibling conflict. You had evidence," I said. My voice was calm, almost detached. "I showed you proof multiple times. You chose not to believe me." "We're so sorry," Dad said. "Tyler admitted everything this morning. He broke down and confessed to all of it. He said he was jealous of you, that he couldn't stand you being successful when he felt like he was just the family disappointment. He said it started small and spiraled out of control." "Too late," I said. "Please," Mom said. "Come home. Let us make this right. We'll pay for therapy. We'll pay you back for the legal fees. Whatever you need. What I need is for you to understand that you failed me as parents," I said. "You enabled Tyler to destroy my life because it was easier than admitting he wasn't perfect. You chose his lies over my evidence. You invited me to Thanksgiving knowing it was a trap. You're only apologizing now because the truth went viral, and you can't deny it anymore." Silence on the other end. "I'm not coming home," I continued. "I don't trust you. I don't forgive you. Maybe someday I will, but not today. Not until you've proven that you've actually changed, that you've held Tyler accountable, that you understand the magnitude of what you allowed to happen." "What do you want us to do?" Dad asked. "Get Tyler real help," I said. "Not therapy to make him feel better about being caught, but actual treatment for whatever makes him think it's okay to destroy people. Make him face consequences. Make him take responsibility, and give me space. Don't call me. Don't show up at my apartment. Don't send flying monkeys to convince me to reconcile. When I'm ready to talk, I'll reach out. Until then, leave me alone." I hung up. The following weeks brought more changes. Tyler was required to withdraw from his fall semester classes and enter intensive therapy. His scholarship was revoked, pending a disciplinary hearing. He had to get a job to start paying back the credit card fraud, working retail at a mall, 20 hours a week while living at home. My parents' relationship with Tyler became strained. The family dynamic had shifted. Tyler wasn't the golden child anymore. He was the problem they had to manage, the son who disappointed them, the reason extended family whispered at gatherings. I accepted the job offer from Seattle. A management position at a larger firm, leading a team of 6 people. Salary, nearly double what I'd been making. I flew out for the interview and fell in love with the city. The rain, the mountains, the distance from everything that had happened. Emma and I met for coffee multiple times. We talked carefully, honestly, about what had happened and what might be possible going forward. She'd been offered a job in Seattle too. Coincidentally, we agreed to take things slow, to rebuild trust, to see if we could make it work this time without the weight of my family situation crushing us. Jake helped me pack up the few possessions I'd accumulated. He was genuinely happy for me, even though it meant losing a roommate. "You deserve this, man," he said. "You fought like hell for this." 1 year after my blog post went viral, 2 years after moving out, I was living in Seattle in a small but nice apartment with a view of Puget Sound. Emma had her own place across town, and we were dating again, taking it slow, building something real. I had a job I loved, leading campaigns for tech companies and startups, working with creative people who respected my skills. I had a team who looked to me for guidance. I had the respect of my colleagues and the trust of my clients. My credit had recovered. My savings had been rebuilt. My reputation had been restored. My life was mine again. Tyler sent me an email on the anniversary of my blog post. It was long, rambling, full of apologies and excuses and pleas for forgiveness. He talked about therapy, about understanding what he'd done wrong, about wanting to be brothers again. I read it once, then deleted it without responding. Maybe someday I'd be ready to hear his apologies. Maybe someday I'd be able to forgive my parents for enabling him, but not today. Today, I was focused on building the life I deserved, surrounded by people who valued me, doing work that mattered. I thought about that canceled birthday often, how such a small moment had catalyzed everything that followed, how my parents' choice to prioritize Tyler's feelings over mine had revealed the truth about our family dynamic, how leaving that night had been the best decision I'd ever made, even though it had led to 13 months of hell. The lesson I learned was this: some family bonds aren't worth preserving. When people show you who they are, believe them. When they choose someone else's comfort over your well-being repeatedly, you're not abandoning them by walking away. You're saving yourself. Enabling bad behavior doesn't help anyone. My parents thought they were being supportive by always taking Tyler's side, but they'd actually prevented him from facing consequences and learning to be a better person. Their support had turned him into someone who thought manipulation and cruelty were acceptable tools. They'd hurt him as much as they'd hurt me. And maybe most importantly, your worth isn't determined by whether your family sees it. For years, I'd internalized my parents' message that Tyler's needs mattered more than mine, that my accomplishments weren't worth celebrating if they made him feel bad. Moving out had forced me to rebuild my sense of self-worth from scratch, and I'd learned that I didn't need their validation to be valuable. I celebrated my 22nd birthday in Seattle. Emma organized a small dinner party with new friends I'd made through work. Jake flew out for the weekend. We ate Thai food and played board games and talked about everything except my family. At midnight, Emma brought out a homemade cake. It was lopsided and the frosting was uneven, but it said "Happy Birthday Landon" in blue letters, and no one tried to cancel it. Everyone sang. I blew out the candles and made a wish. I didn't wish for my family to change. I didn't wish for Tyler to face more consequences. I didn't wish for my parents to finally understand what they'd done. I wished for the strength to keep moving forward, to keep building this new life, to keep choosing myself every day, the way I should have been chosen from the beginning. The wish felt like enough. If you've ever dealt with a toxic family dynamic, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. How did you handle it? Did you choose to distance yourself? Or did you find a way to reconcile? What advice would you give to someone going through something similar? If this story resonated with you, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to hear more stories about overcoming family challenges and building the life you deserve. Share this with anyone who might need to hear that it's okay to put yourself first, even when family pressure tells you otherwise. Your support means everything and helps these stories reach people who need them most. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you're not alone, that standing up for yourself is worth it, even when it costs everything, and that sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you deserve to be celebrated, not sacrificed for someone else's comfort.